Real estate is a relationship business, and the better you are at developing and maintaining those relationships, the better you'll be at buying houses. This is the first step in the equation. Stay tuned. We're going to teach you how to manage and build relationships with distressed sellers. Smash that subscribe button.
I'm a hustler, homie.
So, just like any business, and probably even more so, real estate is a relationship business. I'm going to assume that you guys are going to be buying distressed properties like I am, and distress comes in many forms, and I'm going to make a number of analogies over the course of this video, comparing buying distressed properties to dating. This will offend some of you, and honestly, I don't give a f***, so we're just going to go into it because there's no better analogy for sales than dating and trying to get laid. So initially, there's going to be your first point of contact, and it always works better when the person of the opposite sex or the distressed seller reaches out to you. So yes, cold calling works, but putting notes on doors works just as well, if not better, in my opinion. Doing mass mailers, or even putting an ad in a newspaper, having a website where people can find you and reach out. It's just like having a girl approach you at a bar and say, "Hey honey, you're kind of cute. Can I buy you a drink?" And I mean, let's be real. I think that's a deal that you're going to be able to close relatively easily. However, sometimes to get into one of those conversations, if you're going to market, it's not always going to start off that smoothly. It's kind of like seeing a girl that you like out on the town going, "Oh my God, nice." And the reaction may always not be the greatest. "Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be that blunt, but I mean, goddamn, baby." And a lot of times these situations are going to be like, "Look, we know you're in pre-foreclosure and we'd like to help you out." And you're going to get a screaming phone call telling you, "Oh my God, I think I'm going to die. Somebody else knows that I'm going to lose my house." And a big part of this is going to be educating people, developing the relationship, and believe it or not, making friends is huge. And some of these people are going to be your biggest supporters down the road, and your referral system and your references. So make sure you do the right thing. You're going to have to diffuse the situation via text or via phone call, whatever it is, and you just call them out on being in some kind of trouble, losing their house. Don't expect the reaction to always be a good one. Once you've done a good job of that, and the best way to diffuse these situations a lot of times is just honesty. You know, how'd you get my number? How'd you get my address? "Well, sir, ma'am, I believe in transparency, and we subscribe to a service that provides us with a list penance list, and that's a list of people that are in pre-foreclosure in where we work, which is the state of New Jersey, or wherever you work. And list penance is the first step in the pre-foreclosure process. So this means to us that you're at least 3 payments down on your mortgage, and we decided to reach out and see if we can help you either save or sell your house. And yes, we can help people save their houses too, but sometimes we can't, and we like to exhaust all those options. Once you've developed rapport with them over the phone and you've educated them, and even if you're texting or cold calling people, they may ask, "How did you get my number?" And I'll just flat out tell them, "Well, it's public record that you've defaulted on your mortgage, and then we took all the data from all the people and their addresses that have missed at least 3 payments on their mortgage, and then we skip traced them, and we got whatever phone numbers come up on public record. Then we text those people and offer a helping hand. And the phone number that came up was this one that I'm now texting you on, or this one that I'm now calling you on. So somewhere on public record, on the internet, that must be associated with a utility bill on the same address, or a phone bill, or something else." And it's amazing, they'll actually appreciate you for telling them how you got their number, because you're not some bullshit artist, you're keeping it real. One way or another, the next thing you're going to want to do is push for a meeting, and if you can't make a meeting with the seller at the property or somewhere else, put them in a follow-up system and say, "Look, is it okay if I reach out to you next month?" And Bad situations rarely get better with any type of help, so go ahead, reach out. Hey, this is Chuck reaching out again. I just want to see if you've resolved the problem yet. Oh, you have? Great, congratulations. I'll take you off my list if you want, or you haven't. Oh my God, I am so sorry. Well, like I told you before, I'm on your side, and your best interest is my primary concern. When you're ready, I'd be more than happy to come out to the house and meet with you and your husband or your wife or whoever, and we can lay out some options. Now, do I care about the house? Not as much as I care about the person. The person is the one that needs help. They're the one that's in distress. Okay, a house is not alive. A house doesn't have feelings. A house can be easily fixed, where somebody else has got both real and imagined fear about how their world is falling apart, and you're there to help them get through it, because even if this is only your first time seeing it, there's people in our office that can help you through it. You're a professional, or you're going to become one, and it's okay to tell them that you're just starting out. Lord knows I have my first few deals. If you can set up a meeting, you're going to make sure you give them a date and time, preferably at the property, and within 24 hours of that meeting, you're going to confirm it. I would also let them know via phone call or text when you're on your way. I would show up on time, and be like a young girl going on her first date where their father tells you, read into everything they do, not so much what they say. So if you tell them you're going to be there at 3 o'clock, you better be there at 3 o'clock. And if they're not there at 3 o'clock, text them at 3 o'clock and tell them you're there, because one way or another, whether they realize it or it's subconscious, you were just honest. You said what you were going to do, and then you did it. And you do that enough times, then you can say what you're going to do going forward, and that's automatically the truth, because you said, I'll call you back on this date, and you did. I'll show up in this time, and you did. Now, while you're sitting down with these people, they're going to ask you questions, and it is okay to not know the answers. We already know that all the time, every time, we're going to bring our paperwork into a house with us, and even if we haven't begun the actual closing process or signing a purchase and sales agreement, if you don't know the answer to a question, write it down on the back of a purchase and sales agreement. I'd rather you do that than type it in your phone, because at least then you're taking it out and you're showing them you're there to do business. Flip it upside down. Get used to writing in front of people, even if you're really bad at writing like me or you get nervous about it. Okay? While you're sitting in front of the seller, rapport is the biggest thing you can do. It is a state of mutual liking. It's like becoming friends. It's like falling in love. And the questions that I use are the exact same questions I've used in the past as a pickup artist. Let's just be completely honest. There's no fancy psychological tricks, and you can't fake this. You truly have to be interested, and you truly want to get to know the person. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to ask some form of projecting into the past, which is, how did this happen? And the only other question you're allowed to ask is why. If your client is speaking very quickly, you better speak very quickly. If they're speaking slowly, you can speak slowly. And you want to dial it down to your level, and this will show that there actually is a state of rapport. You also want to do a little bit of mirroring and matching of their body language if possible. And if they start moving in sync with you, well, that's time to start formulating an agreement, or ask that lovely young lady to go home with you, because I can tell you already the answer is yes. So after you've asked them about the past and how they got in this situation, ask them a year from now, 2 years from now, or just, what's the ideal solution for you? How do you want to get out of this? And I have been a professional public speaker and made a lot of money at it, and to this day I still make more money by listening. So when you ask them, what's the ideal solution for you? Listen. They are going to tell you what they want and how they want to get out of this situation, and it's your job to give it to them, or give them something as close to what they want as possible without hurting yourself, because let's face it, they're on the tracks and the train is coming. You want to push them out of the way, but you don't want to get hit yourself. And while I got my fist in my hand up, why don't you smash the subscribe button and like this video and share it for me too, because I'm sure there's a lot of people in your network that could benefit it just like you have. Now we know how this happened and how they'd like to get out of it. However, lack of money is not a real problem. It is a symptom of a much, much larger problem. So then I typically like to ask them, what other challenges are you facing? Or what is the biggest challenge that you're facing? And believe it or not, more often than not, it is not the foreclosure. A lot of times it's going to be something much, much worse that you can't fix, like divorce or death or cancer or something really horrible. They're going to jail. And this is known in neurolinguistic programming as crashing the client. And we're taking them through all the emotions, and we're actually interested. We're learning the story so we can solve the problem. And be prepared, because this second question about what's the biggest problem, or third question about what's the biggest challenge or problem you're facing, is often a lot worse than how did this happen. So get ready for a train wreck, brace for impact. And I mean, a lot of us are actually even in the habit of carrying tissues with us. We have a box in the boardroom all the time, and I usually can't make it through a 5-day work week without at least one person crying to me. It's gonna happen. There's a lot of emotion involved in this. Accept it, learn to deal with it, and this is part of why I've started to realize we're so handsomely paid. And at the same time, you are developing rapport, that mutual liking. It's almost a form of love or friendship. And if your friend is going through a really bad situation or seems to be reliving something, as a good friend, what do? You're there for them. And psychologically, just that simple hand on the shoulder, it's going to be okay. If we work together as a team, I think we can get you out of this, and here's a tissue. Well, their realtor or every other investor offering 65 cents on the dollar, I can almost guarantee hasn't asked these questions and is not going the extra mile to do that, because you've learned to do something that I can't teach you, and something that most people don't do. You care. And leading with your heart will make you a lot more money than leading with a calculator. You need to walk into these situations with sympathy in your heart and not a dollar sign on your forehead. So now you're in this terrible emotional hole. There's tears. It's horrible. It's time to pull them out, and you're going to ask them what's working for you, or what's the best thing going on in your life. And sometimes it's going to be that you're there. Sometimes it's going to be, the birth of their new granddaughter, or they've got a new job, or they're just going to get out from under this, or they found Jesus, or they're sober. It could be anything. Whatever it is, be happy for them, because they're going to be able to focus on something else positive in their life. And whatever you focus on expands. So if you're sitting around thinking about losing your house constantly, it's not necessarily going to happen quicker, but you're going to live a higher stress, higher anxiety life, versus you're taking them out of that hole right in front of them and focusing on something happier. All right, again, mirroring and matching, asking why. That's the only other question you're allowed to ask, other than how'd this happen, where do you want it to go, what's the biggest challenge you're facing, and what's working for you. Don't be surprised if these 4 questions take over an hour. And if you weren't the most ethical person, this is also known as emotionally hooking. All right, you're not going to do that. You're truly going to have to know what's going on. You're going to have to remember a lot of this stuff. If you want to take notes or jot them down on the particular file for this deal and this transaction, do it. Learn the person's name. Operate on a first-name basis with them. Call them by their name. Call them by their first name. This is what friends do. Okay, one of the most beautiful sounds that an individual can hear is their name. So if you say their name every time you call them, every time you meet them, and you start showing up and a handshake turns into a warm hug, this is a very, very good sign. And don't be surprised if you actually remain friends with a lot of these people long after the transaction is done. A couple of years back, I got pretty sick. I had like neurological Lyme disease. I was paralyzed for 10 days. I can't even remember it. But one thing I do remember months later when I was talking to my neurologist is he asked me, "What the hell is it that you do for a living? Like, I've been a doctor for 20 years, and you're the only patient I've ever seen who actually had a waiting room full of people coming in to see them." It was like we needed a thing that said, "Now serving." And it's because many of your clients will think favorably about you and what you did for them in the future, and they'll feel like they could never repay you, and you're not looking for payment. So you still remain on the same wavelength, and Sooner or later, they're going to know somebody or think of something, and they're going to give you a referral. And just by being a nice person and being a real, genuine human being, it's honestly going to be, down the road after several transactions and years of business, your best form of marketing is good relationships with the sellers that you've bailed out of foreclosure. Will there be crazy people? Will there be people who go back on their word? Will there be people who threaten to kill you? Yes, you're dealing with distressed people. Not everybody is emotionally and psychologically sound, but I'm hoping you are. If you don't know the answer to a question, don't be scared. Write it down. After you've written them down, tell them, I don't know the answer, but that's a great question. One of my partners will know it. I'm going to take this back and find the answer, and I will call you back within 24 hours, so 3 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to call you back. And even if you don't have the answer or can't find it, if you call them back at 3 o'clock, like you said you were going to, and apologize, you'll often find that you're forgiven, and you still have more time to answer the question. Buy yourself more time. Set another deadline and make it. Set a deadline and make it. Set a deadline and make it. And your actions are showing honesty. And that's more important than an offer in writing, because these people need help, and there's a lot in their life in turmoil that they can't rely on, but you're showing them that they can rely on you. You're going to have to be their emotional rock, just like I am for so many people. What we've just demonstrated is by saying, I don't know the answer, but I'll call you back at this time and find it. Oh my God, I still couldn't find it. I need more time. Can I call you back same time tomorrow? Is you've made small agreements. I'm going to call you at this time. You've honored them. And small agreements lead to bigger agreements. And the biggest agreement you're going to make is that you're going to buy their house or put it under contract and resell your right to buy it. You have built trust. Sometimes you're going to build trust just, again, by being completely honest and telling them, look, I don't even want to buy this house. If I have to, I will. You may have better options than me, and we're going to exhaust all those options. So I see that you haven't listed the property yet. Do you want to try that? These are the reasons why I believe it may work. These are the reasons why I believe it may not. And sometimes by having a distressed seller list a property for 6 months and having it not sell will get you the deal. And if it does sell, and even if you're not a realtor, you should know a few, and trust me, they'll take care of you. They won't say that they're going to, but off the record they will. Just by showing them how to list and sell that property for top dollar, and your realtor giving you a kickback, because realtors are this is what they are. Let's just accept it. Okay, you've helped that individual out, and in turn they may want to do the right thing by you, and they may refer you to somebody else who's in a similar situation, because people tend to hang out with people who they're like. You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I'm going to take that a little further and say your wallet is even the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. So if you're broke, chances are the people you're hanging out with are broke as well. There's really only 2 things you can do. Number 1, you can change your friends, and number 2, you can change your friends. I'm not sure which one's harder. Ultimately, if you've taken them through all the rapport building steps, if you've honored your little agreements and you're getting ready to push for the close and you've exhausted all their options, it's going to come time to draw up a purchase and sales agreement and get your authorization to release. And this is going to be a big, complicated piece of paper with about 2,000 words on it that most likely they're not going to read, because you're going to know how to go through it and explain it to them as they go. And yes, I'm going to encourage you in today's technological age to videotape everything, so when they say you said something that you didn't, you can go back and play it again. And also you can watch it and you can learn to improve on your game of picking up chicks or buying houses. It's pretty much one and the same. When it comes time to ask them for their driver's license, their social security number, you're going to have a higher conversion rate with somebody who you put the time in and you built the rapport with and you built the relationship. And if you don't get it then, again, always part as friends. Put them back in your follow-up system, and don't forget to keep touching them every month, because sooner or later they're probably going to come back around, and bad situations rarely get any better without any help. So my name is Chuck Kohout. I hope I've taught you a little bit about how to build a real estate relationship and maintain it. And by the way, one more thing I want to add: when you do get the situation resolved, please, please, please ask them for a thank you letter, ask them for a testimonial, ask them for a video, because just by putting this out there, you will get more business. Hope you've enjoyed this. Smash the subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video all over the internet. Bye for now.